Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Tonight we're going to be looking at Strange Tales number 1 through 3, a 3-issue miniseries published by Marvel Comics in 2009. Specifically, it was part of the Marvel Knights imprint, because this is definitely not part of the Marvel Universe proper. This is I would call this Exhibit 113 in the case that one of the best times in Marvel history and DC history was the 2000s, the noughts, if you will. And there was just so much more interesting stuff going on in that decade at Marvel and DC. So different than now, where now I look at the previews catalog. Every now and then I'll get those freebies at the comic store just to see what's going on in my old beloved universes that I used to care about so much. And it's just all nonsense and just nothing looks that great. But there was so many great things coming out in the 2000s from Marvel and DC. So many interesting things. Maybe because Marvel had gone bankrupt and they were desperately just trying to do anything. But I mean, it's basically because Joe Quesada took over. And then later on, Alex Alonso came aboard, bringing a lot of Vertigo people with him. Also, just bringing even weirder people than that, which brings us to Strange Tales. So the shtick of Strange Tales was getting all these indie cartoonists to do Marvel Comics. It's kind of like that Bizarro comics that DC put out. I think before this, I'm pretty sure they did it first. And it's a lot of fun. There's some great stuff in here. And it's kind of interesting how things have changed, where some of these cartoonists who are seen as, oh, this little indie guy, that would be funny if he did a Marvel comic, have later gone on to actually be the hottest Marvel writers and artists in just the mainstream universe. So let's start looking at these. These are really fun. So we got Strange Tales number 1 with a beautiful cover by Paul Pope, colored by Jose Villarrubia. And this is just Paul Pope just geeking out. Probably, I imagine he just put in all of his favorites as a child. We got Fing Fang Foom. We got Clea with her ridiculous Ditko hairstyle. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. And just all his various characters getting in a big Donnybrook here. Just you can tell Paul Pope's probably having a lot of fun with this cover. I just love his style so much. So each issue starts off with a page by Nick Bertozzi. And this is, it's so great. It features the Watcher, Uatu. And we start off with him. He's peeping in at She-Hulk taking a shower. He's like, oh, She-Hulk, your proud, firm buttocks fidget and dance like the carbon pools of Zen-La. And then he's like, oh, hey, it's me, Uatu. He's talking to the reader. And basically saying, I love this line here, is we bear witness to the events of all worlds, recording the large and the small, from the extinctions of planets to the jiggling, voluptuous chaos that is the human female form. And I like also how he's wearing whitey-tighties under his little skirt that he always wears, or whatever that's called, little mini skirt. So we start off with Paul Pope and Jose Villarrubia again. And this is about the Inhumans. And this is just like a cute little kind of funny story. But, God, just seeing him draw the Inhumans. Well, Paul Pope, seeing him draw Willie Lumpkin would be great. But, God, I love the way he draws Lockjaw. So this comic is basically just it's like a sitcom scenario or a comedy sketch where the Inhumans are rewarding Lockjaw for all of his great work by they actually bought him gourmet dog food in a can for once. And Medusa's using the can opener with operating it with her hair, her magic hair. Lockjaw's very excited. But then all of a sudden, Crystal comes in and says, Psycho Man is attacking. And they're all like, not a moment to lose, let's go. And poor Lockjaw is left staring at his can of dog food. Unfortunately, he has no thumbs, even though he can teleport all over the world or all over the universe. So after they leave, he figures he pops away. Lockjaw can travel through space. He can teleport. So we see the Inhumans fighting Psycho Man. Psycho Man was such a bizarre Kirby creation. He just carried around this tablet that said fear, doubt, hate on it. And he could press either button, and that would make, affect his enemies. He presses fear, and Karnak here is like, Hars, I am incontinent with fear. Basically implying he shit his pants. And then Lockjaw pops out of his dimensional travel, or whatever, interdimensional travel, and bites Psycho Man and takes him down. And he cries uncle. So now they're back at their hidden fortress in the Andes. And once again, they're like, oh man, now you really deserve this dog food. Great job. And Karnak is going to use his super karate hands to open the can. But then right then, Annihilus is attacking Earth. And they all got to go. Not a moment to lose. And Lockjaw's just like, oh, sigh. God damn it. God, this is so great. It almost looks like Michael Golden there. Seeing Paul Pope draw this stuff. Paul Pope had already done Batman 3000, so it's not like he was unfamiliar with doing like mainstream properties. But he didn't do many, as you remember. He didn't do many superhero comics. But he definitely became, on the radar of all those people. He'd do alternate covers and special things here and there. So Annihilus is, now the Inhumans are attacking Annihilus. It looks like they're not doing too good. Annihilus has got some super new weapon. But then once again, Lockjaw pops out of his transportation, his travel, interdimensional travel, and once again bites Psycho Man right in the head and makes him cry uncle again. Now back at the lair of the Inhumans, they're about to serve him the food, finally. And once again, of course, you saw where this is heading. It's the rule of threes. Apparently, there's another emergency. Maximus has stolen Black Bolt's crown and declared himself king of the Inhumans. Once again, Lockjaw is left nibbling on the can, hoping to try to open it. We see Maximus here. God, I love this art so much. And he sicks the alpha primitives on the Inhumans. And once again, it looks like the Inhumans are doomed, but Lockjaw pops up to save the day. I love how it really looks savage the way he just bites these guys in the face. This time, though, he's got the can of dog food in his mouth. He's ready. He's tired of waiting for these guys to open it for him. So he uses Maximus's, or I should say Black Bolt's crown, to open the can of food. And he is happy. God, I love the way he draws him. So lovable. It makes me think that Paul Pope's a dog lover by the way he draws him with such affection. God, that's worth the price of admission, that story. Next, we have someone I'm not very familiar with. This is written by John Levitt, but it's drawn by Molly Crabapple. And kind of an interesting style. It's almost like this Victorian story, as if it was written by, Edith Wharton or something. But it starts off with, you are cordially invited to the wedding of Mrs. Jennifer Walters and Mr. John Jameson. Now, I don't know if in the normal Marvel universe, if She-Hulk and Man-Wolf are an item. I don't even know where the idea for this is. So in this comic, Jennifer Walters is this Victorian-era woman. Her mother domineers her. And basically, it sounds like it's a forced wedding. Like, she doesn't really even know this guy. It's an arranged wedding, I should say. She's never even seen John Jameson. Her little lady-in-waiting here says, oh, I've heard he's a very handsome man. Now we see John Jameson. He's also his, his butler guy. He's like, John's asking, is she pretty? And he says, "Oh, I did catch a glimpse of her. She does seem quite fetching." And we realize just from this little dialogue that he's like a sexist pig, a typical guy of his era, you know. So they get married, and I forgot to mention that her domineering mother makes her take pills to keep her from hulking out, but she spits them out. So at the wedding, right when she's about to say her vows, she turns into the She-Hulk, and instead of saying "I do," when the priest asks her, she emphatically says "I do not." And she throws John Jameson in the cake. I love the way she draws She-Hulk, this exaggerated anatomy here. The mother starts yelling at She-Hulk, her daughter, and she just shoves the bouquet of flowers in her mouth and runs out of the church. John Jameson tells his butler, he says, "I do believe I'm in love." So I don't know if there's a sequel to this story, but I think I would be in love with her too. That is like this, you'd just be like in awe. Next we have Junko Mizuno. This was quite a coup at the time. Junko Mizuno was so hot. All of her art and stuff was all over shit and Hot Topic. I mean, God, I saw girls all over with little pocketbooks with Junko Mizuno art on them. And I never even saw her comics. I just thought she was like almost like a Hello Kitty type thing where she just did merchandise. But this is very odd. Now, it is translated by C.B. Cebulski, so I don't know if he did a good translation. But for some reason, Spider-Man and Mary Jane are in a town inhabited by spider people. They've moved. Spider-Man's kind of useless here because all the spider people can pretty much do what he can do. They can climb walls, they can spin webs. So when Spider-Man tries to help this little girl, she just helps herself, and he's just like, oh. And so now Mary Jane, I guess, is there's weird little things like Spider-Man seems a little down, so she's like, "Here, just eat lots and lots of my special bright yet red Jell-O." And she makes him like 5 red Jell-O plates. His webs are pink for some reason. So he goes out there, and tries to make a name for himself. He's Spider-Man, Everyone just laughs at him. Mary Jane thinks it's because he only has 2 arms. So she makes him this rig with 4 false arms on it. People are scared of him now. They think he looks like a fucking weirdo. Then he finds MJ at this beauty salon. I think she opened this beauty salon. And everyone loves Mary Jane. All the haircuts she gives these spider people, they're just like, "Oh my God, you're the best, Mary Jane. We're so glad you moved here." And then Spider-Man is totally dejected and feeling woeful because everyone loves Mary Jane. Nobody loves him. And this old man says, "Hey, you all right, pal? You look hungry. Have some of these fried bugs." So I guess they serve fried flies like popcorn in this world. And Spider-Man has some. And the old man says, "You want to go somewhere and talk about it?" So it looks like Spider-Man finally met one friend, at least, in this weird world. I kind of like her cute little art. It's so goofy looking. Oh, God. So this is even more the price of admission here. So this is Doctor Strange versus Nightmare. And it's by Dash Shaw. And this is just like, it's just so trippy. And I love this, how the story starts off. Well, first of all, just this panel here. I love all this crazy, he's basically goofing on, playing around with Ditko imagery. And we see Doctor Strange. The story starts off where he's eating alphabet soup. And I also love this line, which I've always thought, I never know what to drink with soup, since soup is so much like a drink already. But then the alphabets make a message, and it's from Nightmare. Nightmare did not poison the soup, it says. But it's a lie. Doctor Strange has been tricked. And we see him pass out and fall into the nightmare dimension. And then now here's where things get amazing. Look at this amazing tripadelic art here. This is so much fun. I mean, his comics like Body World, they have stuff like this already. So it's so perfect to fuse it with Doctor Strange. God, I love this shit. It also kind of reminds me of some of the weird graphic flourishes in Cobra by Michael Fife. So Nightmare and Doctor Strange proceed to have mystic, supernatural combat. They're yelling spells at each other, blocking the spells. That's pretty groovy. Oh, man. All this like kind of op art stuff. It's so much fun. And then finally Doctor Strange just punches him in the nose. And Nightmare goes running off. So Doctor Strange wakes up. He says, I must never sleep again. He gets some strong coffee. Unfortunately, at the diner where he's at, a guy in the next booth keeps yawning. And, yawning is contagious. And so he's just getting really annoyed. He's like, I mustn't yawn. I'll start to feel sleepy. And the last panel, we just see him desperately trying not to yawn. Another battle won by Doctor Strange. Love that stuff. You know what's interesting is like now, what is this? Maybe 15 years later, you guys in the normal Marvel universe, very popular series, you got like Trad Moore doing Doctor Strange and almost doing crazy indie-derived graphics like this. So, yeah, things have changed a lot since 2009. Mostly not for the better, but some things have gotten better. Next, we have James Kachalka, unfortunately. Hulk Squad Smash. I guess they made these 3 other Hulks to kill the real Hulk, and they're just attacking him. It's very cutesy-wootsy. He does draw the Hulk like a little baby, or a big baby, I should say. He's kind of a cute little boy. I do like the blue Hulk here. It's just like, he just is like, he is a baby. He has the brain of like an infant. So all he says is weird things like, "Bwee." And Hulk is like, "Bwee? What is bwee? Hulk no understand your stupid mouth talk." Are you teasing Hulk? And then Hulk's nose starts to bleed, and he sneezes blood on Blue Hulk. And White Hulk says, "Good work. Now we can make more Hulk clones with that blood." Yeah, I guess they're clones of Hulk. Yeah, this is just kind of, that's James Kachalka. These are kind of fun. It's Johnny Ryan being on his best behavior. Marvel's most embarrassing moments. In 1985, Doctor Strange makes a rap album. Prince Namor loses a bet and has to get breast implants. These are pretty funny. Peter Parker catches Aunt May buying porno. I like how one of the movies here is Erotic Mummy Slaves. And then we get another Johnny Ryan, The Punisher, in Scared Smart. So we see this little slacker kid come home. His father is like, "Your grades are terrible. I'm going to discipline you. No more video games." And this kid is just like this brat. He's just like, "Oh, Dad, you're hilarious. I'm going to go play video games now." And the father is just kind of impotent, just like, "Oh, well, he just doesn't have the guts to discipline his child." So then the Punisher shows up, and he says, "I heard your whiny little wimpy voice. I came here to show you how to punish your son properly." And he goes up to the kid's room. He shoots his TV and video game system and basically says, if you don't stop playing video games and get your grades up, it's curtains for you." And he's got a gun in his head. So, of course, the kid's like, I'm studying. So several years later, he's graduated Harvard with 54 different degrees. The whole time, it's implied that the Punisher has just had a gun to his head, and that's what's motivated him. So now that he's graduated, the Punisher says, "I guess my work here is done." And the kid, well, now a man, says, Can I ask you a question? Were you really going to shoot me if I didn't get my grades up? And the Punisher shoots his gun, and a little flag comes out saying, "Stay in school." Punisher, you're the coolest. And they have a good laugh over it. It's a funny strip. Got it. And speaking of funny, here's Michael Kupperman, one of the funniest men who's ever been in comics. And this is so interesting, the style he does on this comic. It looks like some weird, bizarre animated cartoon. Like, these look like he lifted them from those Marvel cartoons from 1965. You know, like when Captain America throws his mighty shield, those ones, those really limited animation. But then the backgrounds are really weird. Like, just bizarre looking. Michael Kupperman is such like, even though I love the fact that he's just hilarious, but he also does really striking graphic stuff sometimes. So we see some mariner. He's like, "Mankind, ugh, a dog, a barrel, ridiculous. Everywhere I go, they mock me. And then when I return to the ocean, their garbage spoils my view. Such uncouth fish, they mock me like the humans they have come to resemble." And we see these like old-timey cartoon fish. He says, "I must swim deeper. Here in the deep, where humans have never been, the fish down here are clean and well-behaved." Oh, how I hate those air breathers. Yet they make such delicious pizza. So silly. Just really bizarre, though. This whole cell animation thing. And so now we have Peter Bagge. And so at this point, he had already done the megalomaniacal Spider-Man. So he's not a stranger to Marvel. And so we see Bruce Banner. General Thunderbolt Ross introduces her to Diana Mocule, the new scientist who'll be working with him. Both of them think like, "Hey, she's kind of cute." And she's also like, "What a hunk of science." And I guess they have to make some new weapon or something. And I guess they're working on some kind of weaponized version of Prozac. Bruce Banner's hoping that it'll be a cure for his being the Hulk, the incorrigible Hulk. So we see the Hulk freaking out. And there's this biker gang. And of course, they're not going to get along. And Hulk beats the crap out of one of them, and they all run away. I kind of like Peter Bagge's interpretation of the Hulk. It's kind of fun. I guess one of the girlfriends of these bikers is left behind. Her name's Chastity. And she kind of right off the bat admits that, like, "Oh yeah, I like big scary guys like you. The kind of guys my parents warned me against." And of course, Hulk is just angry with her, but she's all like, she's totally flirting with him, basically. She's like, "Hey, what, are you busy tonight? We should hang out." So Hulk gets on her motorcycle. She's like, "I'm driving." And she's in seventh heaven. She's like, "Ooh, what a man. What a brute." The next morning, he wakes up with a hangover. And there's still a bottle in his hand of corn drippings. He's got a tattoo. And he's got to walk home. He's all miserable. He's like, "This is so fucking lame. The Hulk gets to have a good time drinking, and I have to deal with his hangover. This sucks." So he's at work, trying to make it through the day. And Diana invites him over to her house for dinner and a drink. And he agrees, even though he's just like, "Oh, shit." And so now we have Nick Bertozzi. And let me just see something real quick. Yeah, the guy who did the Watcher comic. This is called "And Call My Lover MODOK." This is a very weird one, where MODOK, he's in charge of AIM. And there's this AIM agent, a woman who's in charge of bathing him. So she takes off of her AIM suit. And he kind of keeps insulting her, making fun of her pudgy body and stuff. Oh, you know what I just realized? I missed 2 pages here. Last night when I was reading this, I didn't read this. So it starts in 1974, and this is a new weapon he's invented. And we see this AIM agent, washing MODOK. He hasn't called her Pudgy yet. And in fact, actually, she's not Pudgy. She's young, and she has a bikini, and they kiss. She's supposed to be massaging his muscles. Now it's 1983, and I guess Iron Man and S.H.I.E.L.D. have broken up his weapons, and once again, this agent still has to bathe MODOK. And it seems like he has a bunch of... oh no, it's just the same woman just using that thing in comics where it's like, oh, she's all over, swimming all around him. And they kiss once again. So now it's 1995. And now she's older, she's pudgy. She's got cellulite in her thighs. And, they're like an older couple. And he's making fun of her butt. And she says, fine, wash yourself. And he's all like, get back here. And she doesn't listen to him. So he actually turns this weapon on her and burns her. This like heat ray. Now we see 2003. And she's still alive. She's just kind of like a burn victim. She can barely talk. And now MODOK's taking care of her. He's old, too. He's like, would you like another yogurt packet, dear? And then we hear a knock on the door. Open up, MODOK. And he realizes he's finished. It's the Avengers at his door. So he basically grabs this object and kills his girlfriend. And then he kills himself. And when Iron Man and Captain America bust in, they're both dead in the pool. Kind of a strange, weird, kind of almost moving, sad love story, but also very sick. I kind of like it. I like the art, all the little panels going on. Now we have the Perry Bible Fellowship. They had that really popular weekly comic in alternative papers in the 2000s. The guy's real name is Nicholas Gurwitch. These are kind of funny. The Green Menace. We see the Hulk. Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk just because he's trying to open a jar of pickles. And this one's the blue hair. This one's so weird. Wolverine's about to get down with this woman. He finds a blue hair on her person. And she says, Logan, no. And Logan goes out where the Beast is sunbathing and cuts his head off, thinking that the blue hair is from him. And then we see that she has a blue stuffed animal, and that's what it's from. He's a really good artist, this guy. It's this really nice illustration. And then we have Jason, the Norwegian cartoonist. I could be getting that wrong. He's from one of those blonde countries where they like chocolate. And this is Peter Parker and Flash Thompson, drawn in that Jason makes everyone look like these little dog people. And Peter Parker mentions to Flash Thompson, he says, how'd you get that black eye? And he says, I got in a bar fight last night. This guy wasn't leaving Mary Jane alone. And Peter Parker seems a little despondent. He says, what's the matter? He says, I just feel bad. I've never been in a bar fight before. So the next night, he's out on patrol, or maybe that night, and he's fighting. He sees Dr. Octopus robbing a bank. So he starts fighting him, but then he's like talking to him, saying, it's a really hot night. What would go really good about now? A nice beer. Maybe we should go get a beer. And Doc Ock actually says, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. we'll get a beer, and then we'll continue fighting when we're done. So they go to the bar. Spider-Man immediately pours a beer on Dr. Octopus's head so he can instigate a bar fight. It works. Doc Ock punches him in the face. And then the next day, Peter's very proud when he meets Flash and says, I was in a bar fight. And Flash congratulates him. But then we see poor Doc Ock in his psychiatrist's office saying, and I thought he was being nice, but then he poured a beer on my head. He's all butthurt. Here's a list of the contributors, and that's it for the first issue. Now, let's get to Strange Tales number 2. This is actually the variant cover. The main cover is pretty much the same. It's just Hulk is green. So this one, Peter Bagge has him saying, why Hulk red? I thought that was kind of funny. Because to be honest, I don't understand what the Red Hulk is. I'm an old guy. I still don't. I know that's kind of old at this point. But this whole Red Hulk stuff, I still don't know who the Red Hulk is. This is interesting. I just noticed this is dated 2003. 6 years before this comic came out. So I wonder if it was from it was made for another project. Once again, we start off with Nick Bertozzi doing a little intro page featuring the Watcher. Once again, he's ogling She-Hulk. This time she's doing her calisthenics. And then Nick Fury shows up. He tackles Uatu. And he says, explain yourself. And he's like, it's not what you think. I have to observe the universe. This is subtitled To Catch a Watcher. And now we start off with Tony Millionaire doing the Invincible Iron Man. This is really fascinating how Tony Millionaire is totally channeling Gene Colan in this. I imagine that was the era he first read Iron Man, so that's how he thinks Iron Man should look. The first line is, what is that delicious smell? Smells like cold cuts. So Iron Man has to fight Baloney Head here and Liverwurst Face. These guys are great. So funny. So basically they're saying we want Tony Stark's military moon rocket to get, we have to beat you up first. Look at, these all look like actual panel swipes of Gene Colan. I wouldn't be surprised. So they keep pounding on Iron Man. For some reason, his powers are useless against luncheon meat. They run over to the moon rocket and they they take off. Iron Man tries to stop him. He gets burned by the engines. But then Liverwurst Face veers off course. He's not a very good pilot, and they crash. Iron Man's like, the smell of frying bologna is so intoxicating. Then they get an argument about the proper spelling of bologna. And then it gets really weird. He says, where'd they go? And then he notices there's a big rally around a giant holographic image of Dwight D. Eisenhower. And he's reciting that famous speech he gave about the military-industrial complex. I love the way he draws him here. And then Iron Man looks up in the dictionary. He says, wait, Eisenhower? That means iron striker in German. Something to that effect. And Eisenhower has it looks like Thor's hammer, and he clobbers Iron Man. And Eisenhower says that he wants to make the world's greatest smorgasbord from mutated bologna and liverwurst and moon cheese. So the two villains start attacking Iron Man again. I like how his little chest thing goes boing, comes out on a spring. Eisenhower gets in the spaceship, the moon ship. I love how daffy this art is. It's like from a children's book. And then he makes it to the moon, and he makes moon cheese sandwiches with mutated luncheon meat. And that's the end. It's a crazy comic. I love Tony Millionaire. This next one is, let me see who this is. I'm not sure who this is. This is, Arkikio Johnson. I've never read her comics. She does seem to have this nice, like, clean style, this like, very typical cartooniness going on. So this is about the puppet master, his daughter Alicia, and also her seeing eye dog. So we see Puppet Master being a big dick, and Alicia realizes that he's using his mind powers again to steal, and she chastises him for it. And he says, well, your college is really expensive. You don't have a job. And he kind of shames her. So she's like, well, I'm working on my art. So then we see the Puppet Master. The next thing he's working on is a puppet statue of her dog. Later on, we see Alicia hanging out with her boyfriend, The Thing. He's helping her sell her statues. I guess they're all of The Thing. And meanwhile, because the Puppet Master, is influencing the dog is like pissing all over Ben while he's trying to help her at this museum. And then Alicia has to get a job at a bakery. Being blind, she's very bad at it. She makes this horrible cake for this kid who makes him cry. And then we see the Puppet Master just grousing because he still has to pay for her college. Next we have Jim Rugg, drawing and co-writing, and Brian Maruca co-writing. And this is the same guys who brought us Street Angel, and it's them doing Brother Voodoo. And of course, it's Jim Rugg, so it looks like it's some old comic. The paper is yellowing around the panels here. And I just love the way he draws Brother Voodoo. It's kind of actually just looks like it could be a normal Marvel comic. So basically he's fighting this guy who's like an evil drug dealer. Look at this panel. It's almost like faded art. Like, the printing's not that good. Like in the 70s. Yeah, it's the story's not that. He's not really playing with the character as much as the other guys are. It actually could be a Brother Voodoo story. It's not that funny. Next we have Modoc and Me, and this is by Jonah Vasquez. So this is the guy who did that Johnny the Homicidal Maniac comic. Speaking of Hot Topic, that was like this huge crossover hit back in the 90s where people who didn't even read comics knew about that comic because it was sold in Hot Topic for some reason. And I've never read his stuff. I know he had this whole cottage industry going on, just putting out comics. They were always, selling it in malls and stuff. But I never actually read one of his comics. So this is the first one I think I've read of his. And I kind of like his style. I kind of like this cartooning. We see these three kids. They're all playing superhero. This one kid is dressed up as Modoc. His friends don't like it. One's Hulk and one's Wolverine. They're imitating them. And they're like, you're freaking us out with this Modoc getup. And this kid is like a huge Modoc fan. He's like, what's wrong with Modoc? He's awesome. He has a giant head. And then Modoc shows up. And he says, oh, I heard you're a fan of mine. And he basically says, oh, what is this body that's attached to, your head with your little fake arms and legs coming out? Is this a cruel reminder of your former life? What mockery is this? I will help you, Donnie. And he rips his head off. And of course, Donnie is quickly dying. He's pretty much dead instantly. And his two friends are just in shock. I like this. They're totally in shock. And we see them as old men, like they haven't moved in 60 years. That's how shocked they are. Next, we see the adventures that they have together. And it's almost like Ambush Bug with his little Cheeks the Toy Wonder, where he's just a dead head who somehow floats around, probably because of Monarch. And we see him attacking all these groups, and he's getting more, Donnie's head is getting more desiccated, and everyone's just grossed out. Hulk is even nauseous from looking at this dead head floating around. And he thinks Donnie's alive, and he treats him almost like a son. And then I guess they have an argument. He's on the phone with him saying, Donnie, I'm sorry, but you said some pretty hurtful things. Come back. But then we see that Galactus is eating Donnie, who is on some planet. And Monica's very sad. Pretty soon, Modok befriended a cardboard box with a grease stain that resembled Donnie's face. Pretty funny stuff. Next, we have Max Cannon. I used to know this guy in Tucson. He was always coming to my coffee house. He had a weekly strip in a lot of alternative papers called Red Meat. And it was like kind of almost looked clip arty. Like he just would use the same drawings. But this is interesting. This is his parody of the Fantastic Four. It's called The Unfortunate Three. And it just shows Reed Richards as being this totally drunken, besotted moron. He's drinking shoe polish here. Everyone's just like, you're an idiot, but we'll go on the space mission with you. Of course, it's like he used like glue, library paste to seal the rocket. So, of course, it crashes. And then everyone else except for Reed, Johnny flames up. But it's not like he doesn't become the cool Human Torch. He just is actually on fire, just saying, please kill me. Oh my God, this hurts so much. I'm burning alive. And then Reed at the end is just like, oh, well, they all died. But now I need some replacements to take their place. I really like the style of him duplicating this early Kirby art. Next, we have this guy, Jacob Chabot. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this at all. In fact, this looks like some of those Marvel comics that they just make for kids, like Marvel Adventures or whatever they're called. It's very cutesy and not that funny. I do like the idea of Ben Grimm, or The Thing, trying to grow a mustache by putting chia seeds on his lip. And Sue's really annoyed by his chia mustache. And it really bothers her. Johnny's growing a mustache too. They're mustache brothers. They're all like, cool stash, we're the mustache brothers. Then Plant Man shows up, and his topiary attacked the Fantastic Four. And then, because he has this chia mustache, the Plant Man can totally make the chia mustache poke him in the eyes, trip him up, and then kind of like strangle him. So Johnny has to burn off the chia mustache. And Ben Grimm socks the Plant Man right in the puss and knocks him like an acre. And then later on, Ben gets Johnny back for burning off his chia thing by shaving his mustache off. And so now the new thing is going to grow a chia afro. Now we have chapter 2 of The Incorrigible Hulk. Hulk's riding around with this crazy woman. I do like how he just keeps he calls her slutty girl. Like, slutty girl want Hulk to ride motorcycle. So she takes him to a punk club. She's kind of showing him off. Like, oh, look at my new boyfriend. And, of course, Peter Bagge gets in some digs on pretentious punk rock people. Everyone starts slamming into him, and Hulk flips out, of course. And he just totally takes everyone on the dance floor and throttles them. So then he feels Bruce Banner coming back to the forefront. So he runs away. Now that Saturday, Bruce Banner still got that date with Deanna, his co-worker. And he's really nervous. He's taking all these pills to make sure he doesn't Hulk out in front of her. And he's just freaking out. She's kind of flirting with him, and he's definitely just like, I want to keep this platonic. And Deanna says, God, what a square. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And she gives him some of those drugs that they were experimenting on the rats with. And a little while later, he's turned into a sex maniac. He's chasing her around. And she basically says, cut it out. I wanted you to, be a little more frisky, but this is just too much. And so he runs away, ashamed. So this is Jonathan Hickman, who I guess at the time was kind of an indie image artist. I never really read Jonathan Hickman's stuff. I do know that he's really into little things like this, like making, like graphic design-y type stuff. Looks like a magazine article or instructions on the back of something. This isn't that great. It's Enlist Today, and we see Galactus, and he's basically talking about enlist to be my herald. There's job opportunities. And then we see 3 of his previous heralds. And for some reason, Terax is just gives us a recipe for making human shish kebab, 5-finger kebabs. We see Fire Lord, and it's basically an advertisement for this energy drink. So he does all these fancy logos, like he could work in advertising. It's almost like he probably did work in advertising, and he takes his skills and applies them to comics. And here's Silver Surfer. Talking about the great retirement plans. Next we have Matt Kint doing Black Widow. God, I really don't like Matt Kint. I don't have much of his stuff, but I see him in anthologies, and not a fan of this wispy looking art. So Nick Fury is tracking Black Widow, and now we see Black Widow 15 years ago. I guess she's trying to find this guy named Jack Hall. These hydrangeans fire at her. She falls to the street. Okay, I actually kind of like some of this. I think this is kind of striking imagery here. And then we cut away to now she's fighting Whiplash. It looks like she's done for. And then Iron Man shows up and knocks Whiplash on his ass. So she finds this Jack Hall guy, Hulk. And then the Hulk shows up, and for some reason the Hulk lands right on this Jack Hall guy. I guess it's just a coincidence. I really don't get the story. This is just not my cup of tea. Contributors. And now we have the final issue, number 3. And Stan Sakai cover, doing Hulk as a samurai. Start off with the Nick Bertozzi page. This time it's called Cool Hand Uatu. So Uatu is now in jail for being a peeping Tom. And he's just looking at all the other prisoners, making fun of their fashion choices. Looking at Doc Ock. 1984 called. It wants its bowl cut back. And his bunkmate is the leader. He's like, aren't you wearing a miniskirt? I thought you were supposed to be a race of hyper-intelligent beings. Why are you being the fashion police now? These pages are kind of funny of Watu. So we start off with Oni. This is story and art by Stan Sakai, colors by Tom Luff. And we see this young samurai, and he's running from a battle. He's the banner man. You know, the guy who has the banner. And I swear to God, it took me 4 pages to realize, oh, banner. So he needs to rest and get some food. He goes into this place. There's like a weird old witchy-looking person here. I think it's a woman. And she zaps him with something from her eye. She seems to know everything about the battle. She basically says she knows that he cowardly ran from the battle. Now he wakes up in the middle of a field, and the enemy soldiers find him. They attack him, and he turns into the Hulk. But they call it an Oni, which is Japanese for ogre. So Hulk says, I must return to the battlefield, regain my honor. I can totally help my lord Munakata. I could snatch the hands of victory from the jaws of defeat. I think I totally messed up that saying. The hands of victory. You know what I mean. So Hulk shows up, starts just taking on a whole army. But I guess everyone's attacking him because he's a monster. These are pretty beautiful scenes. It'd be really fun of him, these action scenes. I definitely got to read more Usagi Yojimbo. I just have a few short stories here and there. And, God, I love these battles. These are really fun. And basically, Hulk has killed everyone, or not at least knocked them out. And he says, I did it all for Lord Munakata. I'm sure he'll make me a lord now. But then he looks over and he says, oh no, I've killed Lord Munakata. I guess I've killed everyone, both armies. And so then it's kind of a weird ending though. So he says, I know what I must do. And he commits seppuku and kills himself. Love this stuff. This is a really good story. Next, we have this person here. Let me, sorry, I gotta look it up. Let's see if I can see it from here. No, I can't. So this is a guy named Dylan McCree on the art. It's written by someone named Corey Lewis. I'm not a fan of this. This is so 2000 looking to me. Very computery. It's basically about Longshot, the X-Men character. And he's on the Mojo planet. And I think he's trying to find Dazzler. Yeah, it's not, the dialogue's not funny at all. It wasn't even entertaining. And it's kind of just overly slick, crazy coloring. I just don't like his palette. I don't dig this at all. I mean, he's not like a horrible artist, but it's just his style really does not jive with me. Next, we have Jeffrey Brown. Speaking of artists who don't jive with me. And this is the Fantastic Fool's Day. So the Fantastic Four, I guess, on April Fools like to go around and play pranks on people. Like, Invisible Woman takes this guy's toupee. He's like, what the hell's going on? Mr. Fantastic pretends his arm's stuck in this taxi cab. Just all this goofy stuff. And so the Thing, they all look at the Thing like, okay, Thing, what's your joke going to be? And he just flips a car. And they're just like, the dick moved, man. That was someone's car. You don't have to pay for that. And poor Thing is just like, fuck. I kind of like the way he draws Thing. I really do not like Jeffrey Brown, but it is weird. The 2 superhero parodies, I saw that famous mini he did of Wolverine back in the 2000s. It was circulating at conventions. He couldn't sell it, of course, because it was a Wolverine bootleg. But that was like my favorite thing he ever did. And this is not bad. But his autobiography stuff, I find it execrable. It's terrible. God, this is really slick. It's even though it is, I just mentioned how that other guy was so computery and I didn't like it. But this I do like because it's Chase Stevens. La Querelle des Monstres. And it's about the Beast. But it's also about Morbius. It's such a weird comic. I don't even understand this. The Beast is on patrol. It's a beautiful night, a beautiful day. He's all happy to be alive. And then he sees Morbius sinking his fangs into some woman. So, of course, he interferes. And for some reason, Morbius it sounds like he's become a religious fanatic. Like, I am God's avenger. You know, he communicates his will through me. And Beast is kind of almost having a philosophical debate with him while they're fighting. Very weird. But I do like this. It almost looks like a Saturday morning cartoon, this art. But a better designed one. And so finally the Beast knocks him out. And then he rescues the woman. I don't know. It's very odd. This guy, I have no idea who he is. I've never heard of this guy. His name's Chris Cajero. And this is crazy. It's kind of like, graffiti-inspired art. This almost looks like it could be in like Kramer's Ergot or Ergo. I think it's called, you can barely read it because, it's, graffiti lettering. But I guess it's just called Cupcake. But this, I think, says Sumami Cupcake, I think is the real name. Guys, to be honest, I have no idea what's going on in this comic. It's just like eye candy. Just all this things flowing. I really couldn't make heads or tails of it. I think that's the Hulk, or is it a turtle guy? Is it a fish person? I guess it's Captain America, really goony Captain America. I should have studied this more. I'm sure, I doubt this is some like intellectual heady thing going on. But I probably would have to reread it like 8 times to try and be like, oh, okay, I get it. But to be honest, I don't care right now. It's kind of nice to look at. Oh, then it gets even crazier. Look at all this crazy fun layouts going on. Your eye has to follow, in certain paths. Yeah, I have a feeling even after 10 times I wouldn't know what's going on here. It's abstract Wolverine. God, look at this. You guys probably know how I love tiny panels. I can tell that some weird character is killing all the Marvel heroes. There's Thor. He draws all the Marvel characters very silly. In a very silly manner. Off model, if you will. Oh my God, I don't get this at all. But it's really fun to look at. Next we have another Max Cannon homage type comic. And this is the abominable Peter Pepper. And it's basically like Spider-Man's origin kind of retold. But Spider-Man's this horrible person. And he thinks he has these spider powers. Because he always has this dream and vision of a spider in between 2 glowing orbs. You know, that famous image from Amazing Fantasy 15. And then when he comes home one day, there's a police car outside the house. The police officer on duty says, your aunt and uncle have been killed and eaten, partially eaten anyway. He says, who did it? And he says, we don't know yet. But they were hung up in fishing nets like a fly in a spider's web. And then Peter runs away because he realizes his memory comes back. It was him. He's completely psychotic. He says, I don't have spider powers. I'm just a very sick person. And then he remembers Uncle Bob. For some reason, it's Uncle Bob. He remembers Uncle Bob's final words to Peter himself. With profound mental illness comes grave responsibility. I like that one. Next we have, I think this is Becky Cloonan. Oh, no. There's a guy named Jonathan J. Lee. Kind of a weird, this is definitely of its time too. Very 2000-y art. Kind of interesting though. Style. This one I didn't really get the story. Just this narrative monologue of this character who I don't even know who it is. Maybe, is this supposed to be Spider-Man? I'm not sure. He just has his thoughts about just Taoism, Confucianism. It's kind of vague, kind of dumb. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot at the very end it tells you it's the Punisher. But I had no idea. Yeah, the words in this are pretty dumb. But I don't know, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting style. Like that's kind of like that panel. I almost see like James Romberger in this guy. But he's way slicker than that. Next we have the third chapter and final chapter of The Incorrigible Hulk. Once again, we see the Hulk freaking out. Chastity, or slutty girl, as Hulk calls her. Hulk is finally affectionate with her. So she's like, let's go back to my place. But then he kind of starts being weird. And he starts throwing all of her furniture out the window. She says, what's in your back pocket? It's a small vial. It says antidote written on it. He says, that's mine. Give it to me. And he takes it. And it kind of makes him all weird. He starts getting all morose, talking about his daddy issues. Hulk not have a daddy or a mommy. Deep inside Hulk, just a scared little four-eyed nerd named Bruce. And Chastity's like, oh shit, what's up with this guy's nuts? He says, Hulk squashed cute little puppy once. Hulk squashed many puppies. She says, Hulk, have you ever tried yoga? So she gives you Hulk a book on yoga. The next day, or that Monday at work, Bruce Banner's on his desk doing yoga. He shows Deanna the book. She's not thrilled with this hippy-dippy bullshit. She's like, what? What the hell's going on? He's just so like, you should read this book, Deanna. It's really helped me out. I'm going to go attune with nature right now. And she's like, what about science? You got research to do. He's like, this will be better for my soul. And she's just pretty pissed off. She doesn't like this drippy, hippie, serendipity bullshit. So, that weekend, Bruce has already gotten like some beatnik beard going on. He basically says, oh, I want to bring these books by your house about yoga. She says, sure. But she has an ulterior motive. When he comes in, she has this weird cat mask on and she attacks him. And she basically feeds him pills to, make him stop being such a hippie drip. And he makes him Hulk out. And now we cut away to months later. And we see Chastity. Apparently Chastity is now dating Bruce. And she has no idea that Bruce is the Hulk. She's talking to Bruce about her ex-boyfriend, the Hulk. And basically she kind of likes Bruce Banner now. She's like, I usually never follow. I resisted dating a father figure type. It's such a cliche for someone like me. But I kind of dig you. So they start dating. But she mentions how, I'm sorry, they've already been dating. She mentions how, why do you have to go home every night? Why can't you ever stay over? And he's like, oh, my job. But it turns out that he has to go home to Deanna, who keeps him literally on a leash and keeps him all drugged up so he doesn't Hulk out too much. And she makes him do yoga to calm himself down. So it's this poor, sad version of the Hulk. He's just this totally kept man. And he's just sad and drowsy. He's like, oh, this sucks. Next, we have another Michael Kupperman one. The Avengers in Let's Fight. Once again, these totally look like he just lifted this from those Marvel superhero cartoons, which I guess were just lifted from the comics themselves. And so Thor's bored. And Iron Man's bored. So they're like, let's just have a fight. And he says, my tongue feels limp, dispirited. I fear it may be the work of our old foe, the tongue depressor. We only escaped, the last time we fought, we only escaped thanks to the Kaiser Beaver and the Red Balloon. Makes up these insane characters. Red Balloon was grievously popped and vanished into the negative zone. Kaiser Beaver got a job in marketing. So Captain America comes in. Good news. Sales of Avengers ravioli are booming. And he says, oh, you guys are fighting? I'll join in. That looks fun. And then Scarlet Witch and Spider-Man are watching. And she's like, oh, those idiots are going to destroy the headquarters. Spider-Man says, I know how to stop them. Look, boys, delicious Houndess fruit pies. Oh, boy, delicious fruit pies. Just like the Hostess ads from the 70s. God, I love Michael Kupperman stuff. This one's pretty dumb. This is Nightcrawler Meets Molecule Man by Paul Hornsheimer. Hornsheimer. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And we see the Nightcrawler. He's about to go into one of his little portals to transport. He's frozen in time. It turns out it's the Molecule Man. Now the Molecule Man tells him, he says, you know, I'm in control of every molecule. I'm like a god. And, you know, this is what the world looks like to me, just a bunch of molecules. But due to this, there's no chaos in my life. I control everything, and it's not really living. So I'm hoping that I'm going to go into your dimension here that you go into when you transport around, when you bamf in and out. And hopefully in there, there'll be something I can't control, and I'll feel human again, even though it might kill me. So he does just that. Nightcrawler imagines what's happening to him now. Is he being torn apart? Is he aging? Is he sick? And that's it. I don't know. Wasn't thrilled by this one. And now we have Becky Cloonan. I've never read Becky Cloonan. I know she was kind of hot shit. I always saw her in the catalogs. It's pretty good stuff, even though this is very 2000 with the computer coloring. It almost looks like computer lettering too. But I don't know, kind of reminds me of like Jay Lee or something. Like a more less detailed, more clean line. We see the Submariner fighting this guy King Crab, this giant mutated crab. And looks like he's not doing well. He's about to get eaten. And Mr. Fantastic shows up and saves the day. King Crab seems to know his name, Reed Richards' name. And he actually says, King Crab says, Reed, honey, dinner's ready. And then Submariner says, we gotta escape. And, Reed says, we gotta escape. And then Submariner says, before we go, I have to tell Dr. Doom to water the plants. He just moved in. He says, what? You guys are roommates? And then we cut away to the artist here. Well, it's not Becky Cloonan. It's supposedly the artist drawing this comic, you know, fictional. And I don't know if this is supposed to be Reed Richards, but he's saying, hi, Sue, I'm in the lab. And it's that crab by the word balloon, you know, being red like the crab. I didn't quite get this whole thing. Like Sue Storm is now this King Crab character. And now we see Doctor Doom and Submariner being roommates. Dr. Doom is like, Doom's rent will be late again this month. Sorry. It's a pretty dumb story, but not bad art. Creator biographies, and then we have one last Nick Bertozzi page of The Watcher. And the leader and Uatu get in a fight. Whatever. I'm not going to look into it too much. So there you go, guys. Strange Tales, number 1 through 3. Now, there was a second version of this. There was Strange Tales, Roman numeral 2. I think it came out a year later, and I'm going to look at that next video. So we're going to see more indie creators doing Marvel Comics. I hope you guys like looking at these. It's kind of a mixed bag, as all these anthologies are, but I think there's some stunning stuff in here, some really fun stuff. I just miss the days when Marvel would do stuff like this. Crazy shit, you know, like, I look through the catalogs now, I see nothing interesting. There's nothing like, oh, wow, they got this weird... I think that Trad Moore guy was the last interesting thing I saw from Marvel, where it's like, wow, that's cool. They got this weird, crazy artist to draw Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer. But, yeah, it's a different world. And maybe I'm just a cranky old man, but I don't think it's a better world. But at least we have these comics to remind us that Marvel was actually once an interesting comic company. Parts of it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.